I'm Matty Kopamies, and I'm the general contractor for this Purdy A-frame restoration that has been completed. And now I've been asked to read a poem called Interruption. When the new house was built, callers came. Black squirrels on the roof, every morning between sleep and wakefulness, and a voice saying, "Hello, dead man." A chipmunk looks in the window, and I look out. The small face and the large one waver together in glass, but neither moves. While the leaves turn into shadows, orioles, robins, and red-winged blackbirds are crayons that color the air. Something sad and old cries down in the swamp, moonlight in the living room, a row of mice single file, route marching across the empty lunar plain, until they touch one of my thoughts and jump back frightened, but I don't wake up. Pike in the lake pass and repass the windows with clouds in their mouths. For 20 minutes every night the sun slaps a red paintbrush over dinner dishes and leftovers, but we keep washing it off. Birds can't take a shortcut home, they have to fly around the new house, and cedars grow pale green candles to light their way through the dark. Already the house is old. A drowned chipmunk, the same one, in the rain barrel this morning, dead robins in the roof overhang, and the mice are terrified. We have set traps, and must always remember to avoid them ourselves.
My name is Brian Way, and I grew up in the county actually. I live currently in Reddersville, and I'm going to read Al Purdy's An Arrogance. To change the contour of Earth itself, bend a small arc of the horizon to include this unnatural irregularity, a kind of bump, perhaps displeasing to the cultivated eye. I mean build a house, abstract a portion of the sky, place personal boundaries on nothingness. On nothingness? The brain reels and retracts antennae. It's like contemplating eternity or infinity. The mind can't cope. And no buck-toothed intellectual caveman in the pause after inventing a skin tent would tolerate such semantic bullshit either, even before his brain pan started to fossilize. Just the same, when my wife and I built this A-frame with a pile of second-hand lumber and used concrete blocks from Belleville and barn boards from the country north of, that's what we did. Fenced in the sky. I mean the sheer grandeur of it. It was me what did it, God. A peg on which to hang the ego, while birds and small local animals apply for new road maps. Occasionally, wandering my rural domain, I notice a hole in the earth, a kind of bump under the horizon, an old house foundation with maybe rotting timbers, old bricks, rusty tin cans, and think, that's what awaits us. It happens to pyramids and mud shanties, and all I can do about it, my small passion for permanence, is to stand outside at night, conceding probability to the Big Bang, in the full rush and flow of worlds, dancing the firefly dance of the universe, stand on my local planet and neighborhood galaxy, beside my crumbling little house, inside my treacherous disappearing body, while the dear world vanishes, and say weakly, I don't like it. I don't like it, to no one who could possibly be listening.
Hi, I'm Deanna Van Hecke. I'm from Prince Edward County and have heard of Al Purdy many times through the years, and I'm going to recite one of his poems. Prance into Robin. To dance like that in firelight with music playing and throw off all your clothes around midnight is no ordinary woman's way. With a man, and no, you are no ordinary woman, but a bird. I have just made this discovery, not the Greek bird Prance, nor her sister Philomela, not swallow or nightingale, as the gods changed them to, not exactly your namesake either, for she is much too red-breasted, and you're white all over, or nearly. I have made another discovery. Those short, dainty steps of yours are the shorebirds' dance steps on a storm-battered beach after the rough waves recede, stitching the world back together. And when you hover over me, I am already at your feet, unable to say anything, only murmur as men do, and wait when they know the little dancer from the sky must rest sometimes, must rest soon, with folded wings, and wait.
That was great. Can you tell me a little bit about your bike for a second?
Oh, my bike is a 1981 Harley-Davidson Ironhead Sportster. This is my first summer with it. It was found in a barn, and my lovely boyfriend fixed it up and cleaned it up, and rides like a charm. I love it. It's perfect.
Well, my name is Bob Hanthorn. I'm a county resident for 55 years. My grandparents, my grandfather moved down here when he was a young lad from the Cohill area, and my dad and my brothers are continuing to have the business here in Carrying Place with the garage and the school buses. I've personally been here for about 4.5 years now, and I've started a machine shop up. I currently reside in Consicon, and I guess that's about all about me. This poem is called Red Leaves. All over the earth, little fires starting up, especially in Canada. Some yellow leaves too, buttercup and dandelion yellow. Dancing across the hillside, I say to my wife, what is the yellowest thing there is? School buses. 1,000 school buses are double parked on the 401 all at once. I suppose this is the one thing your average level-headed Martian or Venusian could not imagine about Earth. Red leaves. And the way humans attach emotion to one little patch of ground and continually go back there in the autumn of our lives to deal with some of the questions that have troubled us on our leapfrog through the universe, for which there are really no answers except at this tranquil season of falling leaves. Watching them a kind of jubilation, sometimes mistaken for sadness.
Hi, I'm Norman Hardy. I'm the winemaker, owner, viticulturalist at Norman Hardy Winery. I feel honored to be reading this beautiful poem with my Chardonnay vineyard right behind me and my Pinot vineyard ahead of me. Al Purdy was a great lover of the grapes, so here we go. Naked with summer in your mouth. Riding the mountain ridges where the avalanche waits in winter to spill its full moon torrents onto the trembling ski trails. But summer, perched atop the boxcars, hugging myself in the morning cold, then drinking the sun's white whiskey and beginning to realize there's no past, no future. You're born at this precise moment in the high mountains. The roots have climbed your summit. Well, that's all very dramatic. I hear some say to myself, and it's me saying it. A very long time later, the margins and edges of time and place have widened for me. Euphoria in the bloodstream's yeast, in the gluteus maximus, and an obvious senility send me back into summer. Climbing the switchback highways, reversing again into winter, into Arcturus and the Pleiades, Orion and his dog in the sky, where time is lost its boundaries and space jump starts to infinity. I return to the mountains. My roots have climbed your summit. Hope you enjoyed it.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hirsch. I was born in the county. I'm family friends of the Campbells, and I enjoy spending summers here in Belleville.
Hi, I'm Kennedy, and I was born in the county as well, and I work at Campbell's Orchards.
And we are going to read the Prince Edward County. Words do have smell and taste. These have the taste of apples, brown earth, and red tomatoes, as if a juggler had juggled too many balls of fire and dropped some of them, a smell and taste and bells sound in the ears of waves, not princes.
Conservative since the Romans, although it's only animals that are true conservatives, using the same land and water and air for countless generations, themselves them own ancestors, each their own child, rabbits and groundhog tenants, porcupine leaseholders, and the wide estates of foxes.
This is an island, and you know it's like being dressed in lace, as only a woman may be and not be laughed at around her neck and throat. The silver dance of coastlines and bells rung deep in limestone.
Animals having no human speech have not provided names, but named it with their bodies. In the long-ago pine forests, named it with their bodies. In the masts of sailing ships around the century's turn, named it to the sea. And a bird one springtime named it bobolink, bobolink, even a small, unremarkable flower I saw last April blossoming that died shortly after, named it for herself Trillium.
And we, the latecomers, white skin and brown men, no voice told us to stay, but we did for a lifetime, and now and then forever. The fox and flower and rabbit and bells rung deep in limestone. For any who come after, you have heard our names and the word we made of silence, bobolink and.
I'm Stu Jones, painter, living in Wellington, sort of newly arrived, just over a year and a half ago, and here I am standing in a field with a book, Purdy's poetry. The country of the young. A.Y. Jackson, for instance, 83 years old, halfway up a mountain, standing in a patch of snow, to paint a picture that says, look here, you've never seen this country. It's not the way you thought it was. Look again. And boozy traders, lost in a dream of money, crews of homesick seamen moored to a China vision, hunting the Northwest Passage. They didn't see it either. The colors, I mean, for they're not bright Gauguin or blazing Vincent, not even Bruegel's Hunters in the Snow, where you can get lost and found in 5 minutes. But the original color matrix that after a giant's heartbeat lighted the maple forests in the country south, you have to stoop a little, bend over, and then look up. Dull orange on a cliff face that says iron deposits, olive leaves of the ground willow with gray silver catkins, minute wildflower beacons, sea blue as the world's eye. And you can't be looking for something else, money or a night's lodging on earth. A stepping stone to death, maybe, or you'll never find the place. Hear an old man's voice in the country of the young that says, look here.
Okay. Hello there. I'm Morris McLeod. I've lived here in Prince Edward County since 1966. It's very much home, and of course the Millersburg area has been very much a part of me. Very interesting to have met Al and see some of the things that he did. Here's one of his poems. At the Quiddy Hotel. I'm drinking beer with yellow flowers and underground sunlight. You can see that I'm a sensitive man. And I notice that the bartender is a sensitive man too. So I tell him about his beer. I tell him the beer he draws is half fart and half horse piss, and all wonderful yellow flowers. The bartender is not quite so sensitive as I supposed he was. The way he looks at me now does not appreciate my exquisite analogy. Over in one corner, two guys are quietly making love in the brief prelude to infinity. Opposite them, a peculiar fight enables the drinkers to lay aside their comic books and watch with interest, as I watch with interest. A wiry little man slugs another guy, then tracks him bleeding into the toilet and slugs him to the floor again. The ugly red flowers on the tile. 3 minutes later, he roosters over to the table where his drunk friend sits with another friend and slugs both of them over ass over electric kettle. So I have to walk around on my way for a piss. Now I'm a sensitive man, so I say to him mildly as hell, "You shouldn't have knocked him over that good beer with that beautiful flowers in it." So he says, "Come on." So I come on. Like a rabbit with weak kidneys, I guess, like a yellow streak charging on flower power, I suppose. Knock the shit out of him and sit on him, he's just a little guy, and say reprovingly, "Violence will get you nowhere this time, chum. Now you take me, I'm a sensitive man, and would you believe I write poems?" But I could see the doubt in his upside-down face. In fact, all the faces. What kind of poems? Flower poems. So, tell us a poem. I got off the little guy, but reluctantly, for he was comfortable, and told them this poem. They crowded around me with tears in their eyes and wrung my hands feelingly from my pockets, for it was a heartwarming moment for literature. Moved by the demonstrable effect of great art and the brotherhood of people, I remarked, the poem ought to be worth some beer. It was a mistake of terminology. For silence came. It was brought home to me in the tavern that poems will not really buy beer or flowers or a goddamn thing. And I was sad, for I am a sensitive man.
Well, when I was in high school, in grade 10, in Fenelon Falls, somebody left a copy of the Caribou Horses on the bench outside the cafeteria, and I found it. Okay. And I don't know how it got there. It wasn't a library copy, but that's where that started for me. It was serendipitous, I guess. And for me, I'm always looking for voices like Alice Munro's and Al Purdy's and James Rainey's that in which I can hear the Ontario rural voice, the Ontario rural poor, that cadence, and Al has that. So he did that for us, and it is the country of our defeat, but when you write a poem that well, that says so, you climb above the defeat, and so we need more poems like that, and we need more people to honestly say, we're being defeated here, folks. But ultimately, it's poetics. It's not about politics. It's about just that cadence, that Ontario sound. He's got it.
Barn burning. Stayed up late working on a prose piece. Around 2 a.m. when a great light bulged in at the windows and peered at what I was writing, making it trivial. I drove there, half a mile away, in a kind of anxiety, for I don't know what, maybe fear of the red monster. I parked at a safe distance while cops prowled around like sleepwalkers, dreaming of arson with blank expressions, acting like they were needed somewhere else while the planet burned. It was more than a fire, it was Genesis with a safety match. It was a destroying angel with a Bic lighter. A worm of fear chewed my guts. But I wasn't afraid. It was an exaltation, a shiver at the edge of extinction, a godhead of transience. Meanwhile, back at the barn, whiskered whirlwinds climbed the sky, 50-foot timbers, barn boards, steel spikes, and tons of nightmares became weightless auroras. I stared higher, the Big Dipper, the North Star, the planets dangling like grapes in a galactic vineyard. And even the home galaxy I'm standing on all vanished, and words lost their connectives. I suppose it was important for me to keep looking at everything else, diminished, including certainly myself. I went home and slept, and asked my questions in sleep. In the morning, words returned, and the sun, from a nest of clouds and little diamonds of dew, sparkled in the pale white light that filtered into my mind, and the clichés were restful. They made common sense.
Okay, hi, I'm Gisa and I work at the Ameliasburg Branch Library. I'm going to read for you today, Winter at Roblin Lake. Seeing the sky darken and the fields turn brown and the lake lead gray as some enormous scrap of sheet metal, and wind grabs the world around the equator, I am most thankful then for knowing about the little gold hairs on your belly.
Hello, I'm Ben O'Brien. I'm a recent landscape architecture graduate from the University of Guelph, and I'm an Ameliasburg resident. And since this year, I've been involved in the landscape restoration of the A-frame. And I will read about being a member of our armed forces. Remember the early days of the phony war, when men were zombies and women were CWACs, and they used wooden rifles on the firing range? Well, I was the sort of soldier you couldn't trust with a wooden rifle. And when they gave me a wooden bayonet, life was fraught with peril for my brave comrades, including the sergeant instructor. I wasn't exactly a soldier, though, only a humble airman who kept getting demoted and demoted and demoted, to the point where I finally saluted civilians. And when they trustingly gave me a Sten gun, Vancouver should have trembled in its sleep, for after I fired a whole clip of bullets at some wild ducks under Burrid Bridge on guard duty at midnight, they didn't fly away for 5 minutes, trying to decide if there was any danger. Not that the war was funny. I took it and myself quite seriously, the way a squirrel in a treadmill does. Too close to tears for tragedy, too far from the banana peel for laughter. And I didn't blame anyone for being there. That wars happened wasn't anybody's fault. Now I think it is. Is that too fast or is that good?
No, that was good.
Yo, what up? I'm Kali'i Dixon from Toronto. The poem is called Ulysses Alone. No way of knowing where we went on those long journeys. Sometimes there was a whiteness as of snow that obscured everything, but it wasn't snow. Sometimes it seemed we left a campfire and looking for it again, couldn't even find the burned place, blundering into the trees and buildings, but then nothing has ever confused me as much as light. Sometimes we arrived back separately, but still seemed inside the borders we crossed by accident and want to be there if we think it real, but we do not think it real. There is one memory of you smiling in the darkness, and the smile has shaped the air around your face. Someone you met in a dream has dreamed you waking.
I want to do it again. I missed some words and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I fucked up a little.
Okay, do it again. You can't tell though.
I know, but it's I'm particular, yeah. Okay.
I liked that reading a lot actually.
You did? Okay, I'll do it just like that, but I won't skip words. This poem is called Excess of Having. Things do not stay where they are. I found that out soberly driving to Belleville for groceries, while long summer country unrolled like a flashing green light to vision's end beginning. With fields it moved, I mean moved apart from the car's perspective, and numbered green squares on county maps dived into my eyes. Always remembering this happened, sometimes, rarely, I stand waving or whispering or blossoming. Always I've known that forests moved at night, taking their animals with them, because the child wanted to believe that. And I knew rivers lifted from black beds to wind at night over a silver country, seen only with the third eye, to strand one astonished 80-year-old fisherman in the Moon Mountains at dawn, on earth, clutching a half-empty bottle of 100-proof beer. Until now I hadn't quite realized nobody owns anything, though crazy men have said so all along, but I didn't believe them. Literally, no one owns anything, and that includes themselves. After I am dead, and hence buried, the world will be turned outside in, and the grave full of women, or at least one.
And this was in Al's auction. And
So that was an Al Purdy lampshade. It belonged to Al.
The lampshade. Yeah, just. And here's his little red teapot.
That's what he started using once he stopped drinking, right?
My name is Helen Kelly, and I have been a summer resident on Roblin Lake since my father built the first cottage in 1956. And coincidentally, I met Al Purdy about that time also. I was coming from Toronto on a train, and so was he. And we may have talked on the train, I don't remember, but he did offer to drive me home, and I accepted. That's when we were living in Belleville. And I had the pleasure of meeting him or seeing him very casually at the old Quinty Hotel. And that would take us back to the late 60s, early 70s, when I believe that happened. But it's a pleasure to read his poetry. I have a nice collection myself, but Catherine has given me a book that contains One Rural Winter. And we have spent winters here, so it's very pleasant. So, One Rural Winter by Al Purdy. Trapped, abandoned, marooned, like a city thief in a country jail, bitching about all the fresh air, the rural mail, my only communication with outside, surrounded by nothing but beautiful trees. I hate beautiful trees. I'm lost beyond even the remote boundaries of Ameliasburg, and I ask you, what could be more remote than a burg named after a German dumpling named Amelia? Why, just close your eyes tight shut here, and you don't see little dots of light. You see fresh cow pads. But it's winter now, beyond the economic wall. I have 2 nickels, a dime, and a quarter, and not a damn cent in my pockets for a wife who comes out at night when I'm asleep and won't meet the burning stare of my closed, dreaming, womanless eyes, not for 2 nickels, a dime, and a quarter anyway. In the backyard, phallic pieces of wood and stones embedded in ice. Notice the Freudian terminology, please. A failed writer, I'm trapped forever in the third post-atomic, pre-literate glacial period, making witty remarks like, cold out, ain't it, Zeke? It's got so I'm even afraid to go outside in order to experience the rich rural experience that is part of our common Canadian heritage. I might catch my foot in a lateral moraine or something. And be trapped forever in Ameliasburg Township. The earth is frozen, the beautiful trees are frozen, even the mailbox's metal nose is cold, and I'm getting a little chilly myself, living in a house I built one tropical summer with unemployment insurance money and a bad-tempered wife. But I got into this mess myself, and I ain't blaming the class struggle. Besides, things are going to get better in 10 or 20 years, I think. It does improve my character, no doubt, of that, to walk half a mile to the outdoor shithouse with the temperature at 40 below. But Maclean's magazine is absorbing toilet tissue, and all the spiders and microbes and things I trained last summer to sit up and chant in unison, "Hallelujah, what a bum," to visiting imaginary females from the neighboring seminary, are frozen stiff. But the place is warm and comfortable, despite the perfumed gale below. As long as you can keep your mind on the beautiful girl tacked on the wall who advises that spring is here, and I should have my crankcase flushed out, then wiped and buttoned and zippered. I plunge back to the house through a white world of nothing but snow and the damned wind, and all my internal heat. It howls like a dog in my summer underwear. My heavy body is doped with wind and cold, and the house door drags me into the hall, and the doorknob is a handle I hold on to the sky with.